Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, I guess, depending upon when you have decided to watch your math video. This is Mrs. Hauk. We are not going to need our blue math book today. Actually, for those of you that paid attention to our video yesterday, you are going to understand what we're doing today. We're going to do a little review. My suggestion is get a piece of paper and a pencil and write down some of these examples so that you can use them to help you finish your assignment. So some of us know that when we multiply something like this with zeros, we can just multiply my whole numbers here, 4 times 3, and get 12, and then add 2 zeros. Okay, we don't have to write the problem out like this. Okay, so let's see if I can get this erased here. The same thing happens if we do decimals. So for example, if I gave you 600 times, what if I said that's a 0.4? Okay, well, let's take this and we're going to multiply 6 times 4. That's 24. How many zeros do we see here? Here's 1, 2. This 0 is not after the 4, so it doesn't count. So we're going to add 2 zeros. I notice that I have 1 decimal spot here, and so I need to have 1 decimal spot here. So my answer is actually 240. Okay, so I'm going to give you a problem like this, and I want to see if you can write it on your paper or your marker board, depending upon what you're working on. I'm going to give you, let's say, 500 times, and this one I'm not going to put the 0 in front. I'm going to give you the decimal, 7. Can you tell me what that answer is? All right, so we take 5 times 7 is 35. I see that there are 2 zeros here. However, I see that there's 1 decimal spot right here, so I need 1 decimal spot here. So my answer is actually 350. Now, we did a little bit of practice like this yesterday, for those of you that watched your video. If you didn't watch your video from yesterday, you might want to do that because that explained the process a little bit more in depth. So we're going to continue working on something which we call the distributive property. And distributive property is basically where we distribute. Distribute means we're going to pass things out. Okay? So we had problems that looked like this yesterday. If you would, please write this on your paper. Let me give you the number 600 times, and let's do 32, and let's just do that one first without decimal. Okay, so in order to make this a little bit simpler, we did something called distributive property. We took the number here that wasn't in the hundreds, and we wrote it out in what we call expanded form. Expanded form means there's a 3. It's in the 10 spot, so that stands for 30. This is a 2. It's in the 1 spot. So I know that 30 plus 2 equals 32. Now, the reason I changed this is so I can make my multiplication problem a little bit simpler. I'm taking 32, and I'm multiplying it times 600. So I'm going to put it out here in front like this. When you have a number in front of parentheses like this, this actually means multiply. We don't have to put a little times symbol in there. That's what we know. We know it's multiply. So we're going to distribute the 600 to both of these numbers. When I distribute, to help me remember, I like to take an arrow, and I take 600 times 30. Well, let's see. What is 6 times 3? 6 times 3 is 18. Now, if I notice the two numbers that I multiplied, they both have some zeros after it. This one has, maybe if I underline, you'll see them. This one has 1, 2, and then this one has 1, 2. So that's a total of 3 zeros I have to add. All right, so we've multiplied 600 times 30, and we have 18,000. However, we now have to distribute the 600 times the 2. All right, well, what's 6 times 2? 6 times 2 is 12. How many zeros? There's no zeros here, but there's 2 here, so 2 zeros. So in order to find my answer, I have to add these two numbers together. Well, this is pretty simple because there's lots of zeros here. So I have 18,000 plus, and I have to make sure I line it up correctly, 1,200. So you can see I lined everything up, starting from my ones. back this way. So I have here 0, 0, 2, 9, 1. So my answer is 19,200. 600 times 32 is 19,200. Okay? So let's do another problem. We did a lot of practice, like I said yesterday in yesterday's video. So if you did not watch yesterday's video, my suggestion would be to possibly watch that. Let's do over here. This time I'm going to say 27 and 3/10. And I'm going to multiply it times, let's do 400. All right, so if I look at these two problems, which one do you think I'm going to write in expanded form? You're right, I'm going to write 27.3 in expanded form. I'm not going to do 400. So let's put this one in expanded form. The 2 is in the 10 spot, 20. 7 is in the ones, plus 7 ones, and 3/10. Now, obviously, if I really added 20 plus 7 and 3/10, I would get this answer. I'm taking this answer here times 400. Remember, I don't have to put a times because I have the parentheses here, so I can just put the 400 like this. This means multiply. So I'm going to take and I'm going to distribute the 400 times 20. Well, that seems like it's going to be a large answer, but I'm going to break it down and just multiply the 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Let's go back and look at how many zeros. This had 2 zeros. This is 1. For a total of 3 zeros I need to add on my 8. So 400 times 20 is 8,000. Okay. Now I have to distribute the 400 times the 7. 4 times 7, that would be 28. I don't have enough room, so I'm going to have to go down this way. 28. How many zeros do we see here? No zeros, 2 zeros. So 28 with 2 zeros. Now we have to take the 400 and we need to multiply it times 3/10. Well, I'm going to ignore the decimal for right now, and I'm just going to do 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. How many zeros? No zeros here. 2 zeros here. Oh, look, 2 zeros. However, because I'm multiplying by a decimal, I have to add a decimal in my answer. I notice that I have one number after the decimal, which means I have one decimal spot. So I need to have, starting from the back, I need to have one decimal spot like this. Now, if I add all these numbers up, remember when we add and subtract decimals, we line them up. I have 8,000. I have 2,800. This decimal is not worth anything, so we can actually just add 120. I need to make sure I line up my 120 correctly. Some of us like to start maybe at the back end to make sure we get it straight up and down. So I have 120. We're going to add it together. And I have 10,920. So this is very similar to what we did yesterday. Your assignment for today is exactly, except for numbers, what we did yesterday, so we can practice the distributive property a little bit more. If you are having a hard time, my suggestion is to go ahead and watch yesterday's video to help you. One of the new things that I want you to remember for today is this. When you see something like this with parentheses, what does that mean? That actually means multiply. Okay? Parentheses means multiply. All right, well, I hope you guys have a great Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday.